We hold Billy too there. Okay, Bill, come
Ladies
on
and gentlemen,
around.
please hold it quiet.
Okay, that's the shot.
What up, world? Thank you for ripping a ticket to another installment of Hellhound Film Club. I'm your host, Cody Pope, and this is my co-host,
Danny Dimes.
And as we truly are every time we do this, we're thrilled to introduce tonight's panel and special feature. So get your popcorn and let the credits roll. First to our panel is actually a first-time ticket holder to Hellhound Film Club. We're going to get to know a little more about him tonight, but let's get the applause going one time for Liam. Next on the panel for the evening, he's a longtime friend of the show. You've seen him in countless episodes of Hellhound Film Club, and everyone is anxiously awaiting his new short, Joey's Big Reveal. Please welcome Tyler LaPlant. We got two more first-time additions to the Hellhound Film Club couch tonight. Grateful to have these guys here. These are both great friends of mine, great friends of Hellhound Publishing. First on the couch, Boston-based beatmaker, my friend, give it up, Boston Joey Craft. Last but not least, a first-time ticket holder for Film Club and another longtime friend of Hellhound. Please welcome Josh McNaught.
And I want to say thank you guys for joining us tonight. We're so grateful to have you here for another special installment of the Hellhound Film Club. And before we get too deep, first things first, as always, tonight we are live from the Spot in Nashua, New Hampshire.
One of New Hampshire's first dry bars and Gate City's most interesting entertainment lounge, featuring a delicious selection of premium mocktails, coffee, kava, tea, and more.
So check us out here for the Hellhound Film Club live, free movie night and podcast recording on Wednesday nights at 217 Main Street, Nashua, New Hampshire, when the tickets get ripped at 7 p.m.
And exciting reminder, every week we pull random winners. If you're watching the episode, drop a comment on the episode, or if you're local to us here in Nashua, New Hampshire, pull up to a live screening and be entered to win a prize as well.
So stay tuned till the end of the episode to find out who will win in person and for the week, as well as our YouTube comment winner from last week's video.
Now, for our conversation tonight, insert music cue here. We'll be discussing the history and works of one of film's greatest pioneers of the modern century, an architect of cinema who has continued to push the boundaries and challenge the status quo on what can be technically achieved, dramatically presented, and what can be made into true reality. Tonight's conversation honoree is a man who has meticulously and relentlessly advocated and fought for elevating of artistic standards and appreciation. Please join us for our discussion celebrating the life and work of Christopher Nolan. Sir Christopher Edward Nolan, born July 30th, 1970, is a British-American film director, screenwriter, and producer who was born in the Westminster district of London to two parents, along with older brother Matthew and eventual younger brother Jonathan, who went on to become a screenwriter and filmmaker himself, and also a frequent collaborator with his brother Christopher. With an English father and an American mother, the boys would spend most of the year in England and summers in Evanston, Illinois, where his mother's family was from and resided. This also provided them the opportunity for dual citizenship at a young age. Growing up, Nolan was largely influenced by the works of Ridley Scott, along with Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey and George Lucas's Star Wars. He would repeatedly watch the latter film and extensively research its making. Nolan began making films at age 7, borrowing his father's Super 8 camera and shooting short films with his action figures. These films included a stop-motion animation homage to Star Wars called Space Wars. He cast his brother Jonathan and built sets from clay, flour, egg boxes, and toilet rolls. His uncle, who had worked at NASA building guidance systems for the Apollo rockets, sent him some launch footage. Nolan is quoted as saying, I refilmed them off the screen and cut them in, thinking no one would notice. From age 11, he aspired to be a professional filmmaker.
In his teenage years, Nolan began making films with Adrian and Roku Ellick. Nolan and Roku co-directed the surreal 8mm Tarantella, thank you, which was shown on the Image Union, a independent film and video showcase on the public broadcasting service.
Opting out of a traditional film education, he pursued a degree in something unrelated, which his father suggested gives a different take on things. He chose University College London specifically for its filmmaking facilities, which comprised a Steenbeck editing suite and 16mm film cameras. Nolan was president of UCL's Film Society with Emma Thomas, his girlfriend and future wife. He screened feature films in 35mm during the school year and used the money earned to produce 16mm films over the summer. After earning his bachelor's degree in English literature in 1993, Nolan worked as a script reader, camera operator, and director of corporate films and industrial films. He directed, wrote, and edited the short film Larceny in 1996, which was filmed over a weekend in black and white with limited equipment and a small cast and crew. Funded by Nolan and shot with the UCL Union Film Society's equipment, it appeared at the Cambridge Film Festival in 1996 and is considered one of UCL's best shorts to this day. For unknown reasons, however, the film has since been removed from public view.
Shortly after abandoning a previous project, Larry Mahoney, Nolan conceived the idea for his first feature, Falling, in 1998, which he wrote, directed, photographed, and edited. The film depicts an unemployed young writer, Jeremy Theobald, who trails strangers throughout London, hoping they would provide material for his first novel, but is drawn into the criminal underworld where he fails to keep his distance.
Co-produced by Nolan with Thomas and Theobald, it was made on a budget of around £3,000 or roughly $4,000 USD. Most of the cast and crew were friends of Nolan, and shooting took place on weekends over the course of a year. To conserve film stock, each scene was rehearsed extensively to ensure that the first or second take could be used in the final edit. Following went on to win several awards during its festival run and was well received by critics who labeled Nolan a majorly talented debutante, striking comparisons to Hitchcock and other iconoclasts of cinema.
Following success afforded Nolan the opportunity to make the Memento in 2000, which became his breakthrough film. Memento went on to earn nearly 10 times its budget and was heralded by critics as one of the best films of the year 2000, in addition to earning numerous nominations, awards, and accolades.
Impressed by his work on Memento, filmmaker Steven Soderbergh recommended Nolan to Warner Brothers to direct the psychological thriller Insomnia in 2002. Although the studio initially wanted a more seasoned director, a remake of the 1997 Norwegian thriller of the same name, the film is viewed as the outlier of Nolan's filmography due to its perceived lack of unconventionality that he's become known for. Starring Al Pacino, Robin Williams, and Hilary Swank, Insomnia follows two Los Angeles detectives sent to northern Alaskan town to investigate the murder of a local teenager. It received positive reviews from critics and earned $113 million against a budget of $46 million. Roger Ebert praised the film for introducing new perspectives and ideas on the issues of morality and guilt, adding, quote, "Unlike most remakes, the Nolan Insomnia is not a pale retread, but a re-examination of the material, like a new production of a good play."
Following Memento, Insomnia established Nolan's image and reputation as an auteur. After Insomnia, he wrote the screenplay for a Howard Hughes biopic. Nolan then reluctantly tabled his script after learning that Martin Scorsese was already making one such film, The Aviator.
In early 2003, Nolan was set to direct Troy, based on Homer's The Iliad. After leaving Troy, Nolan approached Warner Brothers with the idea of making a new Batman film based on the character's origin story. Nolan was fascinated by the notion of grounding it in a more realistic world than a comic book fantasy. Warner Brothers let Nolan make Batman Begins in 2005 to reconcile with him after he was forced out of Troy when that film's producer, Wolfgang Peterson, decided that he wanted to direct the film himself. The film that became Batman Begins was the biggest project Nolan had undertaken to this point, and it was released to critical acclaim and commercial success, starring Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne and Batman, along with Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, Morgan Freeman, and Liam Neeson. Batman Begins is felt by many to have revived the franchise. Batman Begins was 2005's ninth highest grossing film of that year and was praised for its psychological depth and contemporary relevance. It is cited as one of the most influential films of the 2000s. Film author Ian Nathan wrote that within 5 years of his career, Nolan went from unknown indie darling to gaining creative control over one of the biggest properties in Hollywood, and perhaps unwittingly fomenting the genre that would redefine the entire hit industry. Nolan would go on to make The Prestige, along with 2 more installments in what would become the Dark Knight trilogy, which inspired a trend in future superhero films seeking to replicate its gritty, realistic tone to little success. The second installment, The Dark Knight, in particular, raised the bar in terms of cinematic storytelling when recent superhero films had failed to meet expectations. Ben Child of The Guardian wrote that the 3 films will remain thrilling totems of the genre for decades to come. Nolan continues pioneering innovation in aspects of filmmaking, such as his adaptation to IMAX, in which he filmed large percentages of The Dark Knight using IMAX cameras, making it the first major motion picture to employ the technology this way, and has since gone on to further elevate the craft by making his latest feature in theaters now, The Odyssey, the first film ever to be shot entirely on 70mm IMAX cameras.
In addition to his current feature, The Odyssey, playing worldwide, in the years since its widespread recognition, he went on to make such notable features as Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Tenet, and Oppenheimer.
Today, Christopher Nolan stands as not only a visionary, a forward thinker, and a master craftsman, but he also stands as someone who advocates and participates in ventures for film preservation, Blu-ray distribution, archival restorations, documentaries, summits to invite industry members to discuss and raise awareness and funds for film preservation. He's also been appointed by the Library of Congress for the National Film Preservation Board, as well as the Motion Picture and Television Fund Board of Governors, which is a charitable organization that offers assistance to those working in those industries and their families that have limited or no resources, including services such as temporary financial assistance, case management, and residential living. Through all of his work and efforts, Nolan has acquired many accolades, including in 2012 when he became the youngest director to receive a hand and footprint ceremony at Grauman's Chinese Theater in Los Angeles. He was appointed Commander of the Order of the British Empire in the 2019 New Year Honors for services to film, and in 2023, he was awarded the Federation of American Scientists Public Service Award for his depiction of scientists in the film Oppenheimer.
In 2024, Nolan received the British Film Institution Fellowship in recognition of his extraordinary achievements and enormous contributions to cinema, while in the same year, Nolan was made a Knight Bachelor for his contribution to films, while his wife, Emma Thompson, was honored with a damehood.
Emma Thomas.
Emma Thomas, thank you.
For our free movie night feature that we host every week, and to jumpstart our discussion for this episode, before our conversation tonight, we screened one of the many incomparable films in the catalog of Christopher Nolan's works. Our feature presentation tonight was the 2000 psychological thriller Memento, which was released theatrically in the United States on March 16th of 2001. So, let me get this mic to some of you guys here. We'll get this going here. So, anybody that's here rocking with us tonight, was this anybody's first time watching Memento tonight? Okay. Wow.
Wow, that was impressive. I was not expecting that big of a...
Yeah. Hold on. So let me see hands again one more time.
That was everybody.
Wow. Holy. And Josh.
Josh.
Okay. Wow.
Wow.
So, you know what? Let's start with you, Liam, because this is your first time here.
Thank you.
So, what were some of the Christopher Nolan films that you were familiar with prior to this tonight?
I haven't really seen that many Nolan films, but I do enjoy the Batman trilogy. I did see Inception years ago, and I never really followed up with getting to know the plot of that movie. But I would say the Batman trilogy is probably the most familiar.
I can dig that. I
Yeah.
definitely, I'm certainly with you. Let's go to you. What were I'm sure you'd maybe seen more of them, but perhaps what were some of the ones that like you held more dearly? than most?
I really like The Prestige. I thought that was
Okay.
a fun one.
Yeah.
I remember trying my best as a kid to like follow along with Inception when that first came out, and I remember like going to Blockbuster and like renting it and watching it, and I'm like, no, I think he's in the dream. I think he's in the dream. And I really don't know. I haven't rewatched it since, but and obviously the Nolan movies. Sorry, the Nolan obviously the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
Especially Dark Knight. I mean, we just rewatched that a few weeks ago.
I
few
know, what a
episodes
crazy
back.
month.
And yeah, man, I mean that movie really sticks with you, like especially that last act. But Memento, we'll get there.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear it, how everybody felt about that. But Josh, what were some of the like Nolan movies that you were the most familiar with?
I mean, that movie right there, probably top 10. I gotta watch that again. That movie was crazy.
Yeah.
That movie was trippy. Definitely gotta watch that again.
Yeah, it's a trip, right?
Yeah, that was different. I mean, I didn't expect the ending to happen like that, so definitely gotta figure out what happened because that movie was crazy. But out of all the movies I've seen, yeah, you kind of expect that from him. You know what I mean? To have that crazy ending that you're still guessing what happened from the beginning. So
Right.
seeing that was pretty cool. But I'll definitely watch that again.
Josh, let me ask you, what were some of the Nolan movies that you were most familiar? I know you had seen this, you said, but what were some of the ones that you kind of like held closest to the chest?
Well, obviously you have the Batman trilogy, which stands for good reason why it's still getting a lot of notoriety for being a great trilogy. On behalf of DC and all the people who are fans of movies based on the comic books. But outside of that, definitely Inception. That's probably the one that stands out the most to me. The movie I had to see the most times to fully understand what was going on. But also, as you said, The Prestige, that's another one where it really stands out, psychological action and just great substance from Chris Nolan.
I love that. Liam, I want to take it back to you real quick. So, because this was your first time watching this tonight, and because the scope of your Nolan experience seems like it was kind of limited largely to The Dark Knight. So how did this one make you feel, and did your perception of Christopher Nolan change as a filmmaker after watching this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the non-linear plot in this movie definitely, keeps you interested and invested into the movie. You want to, keep knowing what happens next. And I think that I think for one reason why he kind of did that was like he wants to keep you like remembering what's happening and what hasn't happened, I guess. But from Memento to the Batman movies, it's so different that it kind of, it opens up a, I don't know, perspective that like not everything is I don't really know. I'm still trying to process that movie.
I can understand that. It's a heavy watch for sure.
Yeah.
I like that it challenged your thinking though. That's cool. I think that's important. You
Yeah.
know, like we were having this conversation outside earlier where it's like sometimes we go to movies and we're expecting comfort, and then sometimes we go to a movie and we're challenged far beyond our expectations.
Mhm.
And so it's like if you're prepared for that ride, then it's like pretty wild. So it's cool that you got to go down that road. What are you thinking?
I think the biggest thing about this movie that challenges the fact that it takes you a minute to realize you're watching the movie backwards.
Yep.
That you're watching it in almost like sections of how he forgot.
Yeah.
Like the movie, like the things that are happening are the things that happened to him, but he completely forgot. And then you see him writing the notes, and then at the beginning, all the notes are already on the Polaroids,
Right.
and you're watching them how he got each note. So I agree with you that this is could be a very challenging movie for a lot of people, which part of the reason why I enjoy it.
Right. Well, so I want to ask you actually, because you and Josh had seen it before tonight, and so do you remember what age you were the first time that you saw this?
21.
Okay. Was that like when it came out, or was that?
I did not see this when it came out.
Okay.
This was my Blockbuster era.
Yep.
So it came out on.
Never heard of it.
I bet you never. You haven't. So this was my Blockbuster era when I worked at Blockbuster. One of my good friends, Dustin, that worked with me, actually watched it before I did, and he was like, "Dude, you have got to see this movie." Now, I watched it. I absolutely loved it and enjoyed it, but it took me many, many, many years later to realize that it was a Christopher Nolan movie.
Interesting.
Because at the time, I wasn't like a huge pay attention to the directors, pay attention to this, pay attention to that.
Yeah.
It was just watch a movie. I know the name of the movie. Did I like it or if I didn't? I wasn't as in depth and trying to piece oh, this is like a work of a collection of work by this person. So it wasn't until later on when I watched more Christopher Nolan movies and then I looked backwards at his catalog and went, holy shit, that's fucking incredible.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to what happened to me too, where it's I don't know why I said that's similar. It's not similar. It was much later, but I did discover it I was in my late teens. And so for frame of reference, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight came out when I was in high school. And so most people that know me obviously know that I'm a huge Batman fan.
You were in high school, I had a walker.
Exactly. You were at the retirement home. I was on varsity. But no, I grew up loving Batman and shit. So Batman Begins, I fell in love with right away. But then when The Dark Knight came out, that was at a point in life where it was I needed to know more about who was making it. So it was that was my catalyst for going backwards. So it was in that late high school, maybe post 18, 19 or whatever, where I just was oh man, if he has any other movies like The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, I'm here for it. And then I just got totally fucked up because it's such a whirlwind. Honest. So I still got to ask you the same question too. So I don't want to get off track, but has anybody seen Following?
Oh.
Following's the first Christopher Nolan feature that he did. And it's literally about a guy who he basically follows people in the streets like strangers and hopes that something crazy happens to them so that he can write a story about it. And he just yeah. It's dope. But it's imagine watching The Dark Knight and then you're let me see more of this guy's work. And then it's a 90-minute black and white film about stalking. But it's still so cool. The storytelling device is so crazy. And that's the thing that always brings me back to his shit is no matter the setting, no matter how drastically different it is, he just has this way of using storytelling devices that is just unparalleled. Josh, I want to ask you, can we send the mic down to him? Do you remember what age you were the first time that you saw Memento?
Not the exact age. I know it was back in my college days.
Okay.
I don't want to date myself, but it was a few
It's not
years.
gonna be as bad as I did, so don't worry about it.
No, it was back in my college days, so I had already seen, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. So technically I saw his movies out of order.
Same.
But no, yeah, I was in college when I saw this movie.
Do you remember what the first impression was after, especially in college, watching this? Was this a crazy watch, or did you feel you're oh, I'm in college, I need an intellectual watch, or did this melt your brain a bit?
I just I think it must have been just good old fashioned DVD, and yeah, I saw Christopher Nolan. I was like, all right, well, I haven't seen this movie. I saw the Dark, not I had seen Batman Begins and then the Dark Knight. And I said to myself, oh, I hadn't heard of this movie before. Let me watch it. I was very impressed, just for the same reason you said about realizing that the movie is told, starting at the end and working its way back. I hadn't seen a movie that was filmed in that style before. And obviously the great acting. The other things I noticed in the movie was it had two actors from The Matrix,
Yep.
Cypher and Trinity. I was impressed that he was able to get those two actors after they had just hit so much success with The Matrix, a year and a half before. So I was just really impressed, the actors, the former storytelling, and seeing the name Chris Nolan. I was like, all right, well, this guy is going to obviously continue to make great movies going forward.
So, you know what, Tyler? This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
perfect that you have the mic for this. I'm going to set you with this question, but I want to ask everybody this. What is the cinematic attribute that most comes to mind when you think of Christopher Nolan's works?
I think about just overall like scope and scale of his work and the attention to detail of like, oh, we're going to do this like for real. So I just saw The Odyssey like a couple weekends ago, and I know we'll probably get to this, but like, holy shit, like it's insane. It's like it's to a point where it's like it's a little too much. Like, all right, let's scale back a little bit, but no, seriously, like Christopher Nolan's a type of guy who like knows how to take a big bite out of something and chew it all the way through. And like he's proven time and time again, like, give me a big budget and I can make something like really mind bending. Not a huge Interstellar fan.
That's fair.
No, I was like, and
That doesn't
Oppenheimer.
shock me
Oppenheimer's
either.
a great biopic, but I'm just like, I'm not super interested in Oppenheimer personally, but The Odyssey, it got me going, dude. But yeah, overall, just like his big thing is like just the scope and the scale
Yeah.
of everything that he does,
I can
and
definitely
he
see
always
that.
achieves and he always delivers.
Anybody else have like a take on that?
Yeah, like I said before, that was like the most trippiest movie I ever seen in my life. That movie was different, and like Josh, like just having that movie be like all in rewind, like I was even confused, like what the hell is going on? And then you figure out, it's like, oh, that's why he's doing that. Okay, this is all making sense now. But yeah, definitely gotta watch that movie again. But definitely shout out to The Spot, top 5 grilled cheeses.
Straight
Oh,
up.
yo, that was the best grilled cheese I ever had in my life. I ain't gonna lie. Shout out to Mike.
Wow.
Mike held it down today. And yeah, that was a good movie, Cody. Good pick.
I love that. Thank you. So crazy thing I'll tell you, because you said good pick. So every episode that we do is on one of two themes. It's like last week we watched The Dark Knight, and so
About the madness.
the last movie that wasn't an appreciation hour that we watched was The Dark Knight. And so when that episode was to be released was the week that it was actually released in theaters when it first came out. So the movies always either match their theatrical release date, or like this episode, because it's an appreciation hour, lands the week of Christopher Nolan's birthday. So it's pure coincidence that we get to have this conversation and watch this movie tonight.
Last week we made a little change because Sam Neill passed away. So we did an appreciation episode for him because he passed. So. Nice format we got here.
Yeah.
I like it.
One thing I wanted to say, going back to the question we were passing around, the cinematic attribute that comes to mind for me when I think of Christopher Nolan's works the most is his subversion of expectation, as well as like kind of going to what you said, like the visual splendor. But I think like subversion of expectation was the first thing that comes to mind, because almost every movie that you watch of his, you think that you have a grasp on what is supposed to be happening, and that just completely gets upended and like flipped around. And I know that there's other people who try to work that into their style as well, but I don't always think it's as effective as perhaps like some of the film, like I don't want to like talk shit, but like M. Night Shyamalan. I feel like people always associate M. Night Shyamalan with like the flip or the 180 or whatever, and it's like it doesn't always work. But I can't think of a Nolan film that I've seen where it doesn't work. You know, like that is like his special feature or like his special power is like subverting your expectation. The visual splendor, I think, is just like is like the icing on the cake, where it's like if you care that much about filmmaking and storytelling, then you have to care that much about the visual world within which it lives too.
It's gonna sound weird, but for me, like one of his like cinema things that he does that I love is that he takes a very dark and gloomy scene that you should feel like shouldn't be able to really like see or know what's going on, but yet makes it feel like bright. If that makes sense. Like it's a dark, gloomy scene, but yet it feels almost like inviting. And it's like you can see like what's going on when you can't see what's going on. Yeah, to me, that's
It's always darkest before the dawn, brother.
it is. Where's the rewind button on that joke?
I don't know. I feel like I got some laughs here. I'm about to work on my Netflix special now. Since you got the mic, let me start with you. Shotgun question. So we'll just answer this round real fast. Top 3 favorite Nolan films. Don't have to be in any sequential order if you don't want.
Memento, Prestige, Odyssey.
Okay. Hell yeah. Let's go to Josh.
Inception, Dunkirk, and The Dark Knight.
Ooh, okay.
I'll probably say that. And what was that? Would you say Tenet? Tenet was good. But that was
We were talking about Tenet outside though, yeah.
Yeah, Tenet's lit. I like that movie. Dark Knight, yeah. And then Inception. Memento, that movie was different. I gotta definitely watch that one again.
Right.
That was different.
I'm gonna hop on the train. Dark Knight, Memento, and I'm sticking my guns with Odyssey, dude. Odyssey.
Okay.
Odyssey was really cool.
I'm excited that you guys are digging it so much. I can't wait to have the chance to dive in.
Top 3 has got to be Dark Knight at number 1, Memento, what we just saw, number 2, and probably Inception for number 3.
Nice.
Yep.
That's a high IQ list right there, dude. Well played.
This kid's a fucking thinker over here, right?
I know,
This kid
right?
thinks a lot.
He must be in good company.
Just spends all day in his room just thinking. It's
Just
crazy,
thinking.
You know.
Guy's just a thinker.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
you
head
sir.
hurts.
So
Give us that 3.
so there's kind of a tie at one point in the middle. It's real. So the Dark Knight isn't obvious, right? Like I love, like it's just, I don't know. Not much needs to be said. Go watch the episode that we just did, please, and like and subscribe and drop a comment. I put Following, like I was just mentioning, as one of them because I think that in the scope of Christopher Nolan movies, that one is like the most standout in terms of he didn't have the ability to apply all of the techniques that he's been able to afford himself now. And so it's like the smallest budget film he did, and he still had to make it a Nolan movie, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like he had to develop that storytelling style without all of the assets and resources and industry praise and all of that.
It's like his bottle rocket.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god,
Memento's
dude.
like Christopher Nolan's bottle rocket,
Dude, straight up, so true.
Because there's a lot, kind of like the heady themes and like characters that are kind of dry and a little bit dull at times. Not to hate on Nolan, but like,
No,
but then it's like, oh well, he's actually attempting to do something and then succeeding at it,
yeah,
and subverting the expectations of the characters of the story. And I forgot to mention the editing, dude.
Yeah.
Just like all of his movies are just cut so well and like just brings you in that moment. Like, yeah. very, very. Hey, the guy knows what he's doing. All right.
Straight up. The one that I have tied it's a tie between Batman Begins and Memento. And the reason is because Batman Begins came years after what many consider the Batman franchise to have failed. And you essentially gave a director with very little worldwide acclaim the keys to one of the most important franchises of all time. And Batman Begins, while it's not as heralded as The Dark Knight, is an incredible adaptation of an origin story. It visually showed the Batman story in a way that had never been done before. In comic books, it had barely been presented in that manner, of that scope and beauty, like you were talking about. So as a Batman fan, it's hard to not have that
Gotta
on there
include
just
it.
on principle. But Memento, as luckily now we've all seen, is like a whirlwind of a ride. And there's something about that is just so exciting. And that is something that's hard to replicate, is like that idea of like, damn, I'm being like, no matter how many times I watch this, I'm being taken down a road that like is going to force me to like keep notes in my own head and keep track of these things and differentiate why film pans from color to black and white, and the, you know, noticing the orientation of the tattoos, and like there's all these different things that happen that it's just like, I love a movie that it like holds a gun to your head to make you pay attention.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's that tie there.
Definitely can't nap during this movie.
Yeah. I could have I wrote the question, so I could have called it a top 4, but we always
No,
do
three's
top 3,
good.
so that's why, you know, I just got to hold myself to it. And there's a tie that one day will be broken.
And it figures I'm the only one that didn't have a Batman movie.
I respect that though. Because you know what's crazy, right? Is Nolan has a filmmaking career that spans nearly 30 years now, but there's not a ton of movies. There's like 12 or 13 movies or something like that. It's
He takes his time. He likes to let him bake.
it's spare, yeah, it's sparse in a qualitative way. Yep. And so that kind of leads me to my follow-up question, which, rather than your favorite movie, I personally feel like Nolan's filmography can kind of be broken down into 3 genres, so to speak. And the earliest chapter of his career is very much like a neo-noir thriller kind of turn. Those, you know, obviously following Memento, like there's a pattern of a few movies that really are in that thriller lane. Insomnia, obviously, the Batman Begins chapter is now a new take on the superhero genre. It's still Christopher Nolan. He's still applying those techniques and stuff, but he has kicked the door open on the superhero genre. When that time came to an end, he really has ended up in more of a science fiction period. These last few films, you know, obviously there's some like war stuff like Dunkirk and stuff too, but a lot of the stuff is the Interstellar, the Inception, Tenet, you know, and now we're getting into like the historical period. So my question to everybody is, despite what your favorite movie is, what is your favorite one of these genres to see him work in?
Thriller.
I'd like to. I like the historical aspect because I really enjoyed Odyssey, but after seeing Memento, I'm leaning more towards thriller or maybe even horror because I think he could really pull that off too. He's
he
thinking about it.
He would make a brilliant horror movie.
You know, having so I've only seen like more or less his superhero side of the, you know, movie spectrum for Nolan. I gotta say the, you know, psychological thriller, you know, Memento is probably the most like keeping you on the edge of your seat.
I think
Genre
you'll
for me.
really enjoy the Prestige.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you really need to. If you haven't seen that,
yeah. I don't think I've seen it.
you got to see that one.
We'll watch that one next. That one's nice.
Tyler's like, it's over with. We got it. We're watching it.
Yeah, definitely thriller. Just having that suspense ending and like I said, I gotta watch that movie again. That's how crazy that movie was.
I love that.
shit
Hell
was
yeah.
lost.
Watch it again, you're gonna notice something you didn't
Yeah, I
notice
was
this
like,
time.
what
Yeah.
You'll watch
is
again, you're gonna
going on?
notice something because
For real.
I watched it this time and noticed something in this that I didn't catch last time. So
It's just deep. It's just deep.
I would say for me, it would be sci-fi and also the thriller. The sci-fi because I mean, just Inception and Interstellar by itself. I mean, very advanced as far as themes and concepts and story writing. You could even say the film score. I think Hans Zimmer did both of those. Very intricate and yet themes and stories told in a way that people could follow along. It might take a couple of times, but it was very well done. Also, considering the fact that there's so many classic sci-fi movies, and in the time that he was doing those, other sci-fi movies being made at the same time or in the same decade that he was competing with, as far as supremacy, if you want to put it that way, regarding the best sci-fi movies of that time or of that decade. So I would say sci-fi for me, just on the strength of Inception and Interstellar, and you could even say Tenet.
Yeah.
And then thriller, mostly I say that on the weight of the Prestige and Memento. Prestige, again, won't ruin it because I know not everyone's seen it, but man, it's very well done. The acting,
I like you said,
outstanding.
because not everyone has seen
No,
it.
no, I'm just being real, man. I don't want to say too much and ruin it for anyone, but it's such a well done thriller that stands alone by itself as one of the better drama / thriller, if you want to put those two in two separate categories for movies. But yeah, number one, definitely sci-fi for me. That's my favorite category of his.
I just got a question.
Hold on, Josh, hold that mic because I got a follow up for you.
You might even jump on this. Inception. Like I get that it's a sci-fi, but I think it almost borders a little bit on the thriller edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Like I think it's
Absolutely.
a blend of like two of the genres that he was doing. So like when I think Inception, I think more thriller than I do sci-fi. But I also, like I said, I like movies that like mentally challenge you. In Inception, there was a lot of parts in that movie that you were mentally being challenged
Absolutely.
and questioning what you were watching. So to me, that's what I just wanted to ask as a question, because when I think of Inception, I don't think so much sci-fi as I really think thriller.
Right.
But that's a borderline opinion of people. So I was just more or less asking just for my own take.
Well, definitely the thriller factor, just because of the heist theme. It's like all the heist and crime solving movies that have been out for the last 100 or so years. It's definitely up there as far as memorable heist movies, and the criminal or the crime factor of these guys essentially committing a crime. But the biggest, as far as why I consider it sci-fi, is that concept of the dream state that I don't think had been explored to that depth before. A dream within a dream. If we die in the dream, you die in real life. The last time I heard that was, what was it? Freddy Krueger. And this is a way different movie from Freddy Krueger, but the principle, was kind of the same, right? If you die in the dream, you die in real life. So that was the biggest factor regarding why I'd put it as a sci-fi. Just that science and the degree they went to really explain it. Whether it's the maps or the concepts of the different individuals who were dreaming in their own individual dream state, and just the depth that they went to be really detailed about how much the dreams were important to each character in the plot of the movie overall.
Well, technically, if you died in the Matrix, you died
Hold on,
in real life too.
Hold on. Sorry, I still got a follow up for him.
That's fair. I'll give you that. That's fair.
All right, let me jump in here.
Yes, yes.
So, what I wanted to ask you, because everybody else kind of their jumping point was the thrillers, yours was the sci-fi, and so in horror, because we kind of were getting into the idea of Christopher Nolan doing horror briefly when we
awesome.
went
That'd be
down
great.
that road. In the 2010s, and you might have something to say about this too. So tug the chain if you need to. In the 2010s, when A24 was kind of getting its surgence, and getting the height of its popularity, there was almost this it was almost like a satirical term that they would call A24 like elevated horror. There was this idea that A24 films took a more like nuanced and elegant approach to horror films than that of what we had been preconditioned to for a long time. Do you feel like perhaps Nolan is kind of somebody that could embark upon an elevated sci-fi, and maybe he already kind of is, where there's been plenty of instances of science fiction that lean more heavily into the fiction than the science, but Christopher Nolan seems to kind of always be challenging science the same way that he's challenging filmmaking and stuff like that. So do you see some sort of resemblance like that?
Yeah, and I would definitely agree that if he went down the route of trying horror, I think he would be outstanding at it. Simply because all of his movies really, I could say the same about Spike Lee and Quentin Tarantino, known for being original and not just being original, but I would say the concepts were enough to make you really think about what you were watching. And because he has such a good track record at this point of making movies that people respect and are told from a point of view that a lot of film fans really want to watch over and over and over again. And because his movies have so much substance, you're going to get something either original, even if it's not the source material like Batman or Insomnia, not original source material technically, but the storytelling was told in a way that was original, and the substance was enough that you're not getting a popcorn movie, no pun intended, where it's like, oh, you go in, you see it for, this is a nice movie, it's done in an hour and 20 minutes or less. You're going to get like a hard hitting, you're in there for at least 2 hours, brother. So if he went that route with horror, you're going to get substance. You would, I assume, get a lot of great original content, and his typical stamp is just long movies that are good quality, and I wouldn't doubt it one bit if he had that same perspective and same style with the horror genre.
I almost feel like they're long movies because there wasn't anything worth cutting. I feel like, and you can kind of attest to this, I feel like a lot of movies overshoot and then ended up leaving a bunch of shit on the cutting room floor. And
well, he's also Christopher Nolan. Like he has the luxury of like being like having final cut agreements where it's like, no, this is what the movie is. Like either release it or don't. I don't know. To touch on like your elevated horror point from before, I think it's like I could see Christopher Nolan doing something more akin to like Weapons, where it's pretty like big ideas, big in scope, kind of heavy in themes. Maybe a few small comedic moments here and there. I don't know. Like I take a small amount of umbrage with the term like elevated horror because it's like, yeah, like I get it, but I also think it's a question of like, tastes are changing and we're in a point where like horror movies kind of go through a cycle of like, being like really fucked up and really edgy and then kind of being parodies of themselves and then going back to like kind of being cool again. So it's like, I think stuff like Hereditary or like Midsummer or like The Witch, like, or even like The Lighthouse for that matter, like, yeah, I think it's cool to have these movies that like make you think and feel, all sort of different ways and really have heavy themes. But at the same time, you're fucking scared shitless at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, and like I'll agree with you. The idea of the elevated horror is like a bit pretentious, and that's why I was kind of saying that it's like been used in satirical context as well. But I do think that especially horror films nowadays, do kind of require some sort of subgenre, because it's like, look at like compare it to like metal music, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you could say you like metal, you could say you like metal, and you could say you like metal. He might be talking about Limp Bizkit, he might be talking about Napalm Death, and he might be talking about Have Heart. And that's three different worlds of three different kinds of music, three different kinds of audiences. And horror has kind of been going through that same thing. You know, there's people who want The Conjuring, and there's people who want Midsummer, and there's people who want Trauma.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and there's a place for all of those things, but you deserve to know what you're getting into
Yeah.
as like a unsuspecting viewer.
See, I just don't see Christopher Nolan doing like kind of like Saw stuff, like that.
No.
Nah, honestly,
no,
I
that's what I'm
see
saying.
him doing
stuff that's gonna like trash
Yeah,
your mind.
I see him
Yeah.
doing like
Wow.
Robert Eggers style stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought Weapons was a kind of a good example, because I just recently watched that, and like it played with your head the whole time I was watching it.
Yeah.
So like Christopher Nolan, like his type of thriller already plays like what he's like done already, plays with your head really well. So I think if you went into like a full like horror swing, I don't think you're leaving the movie theater because you're gonna be afraid you're gonna get murdered on the way
Right,
out.
right,
Like,
yeah.
We need the Christopher Nolan Hideo Kojima collab.
like I don't know. I probably won't have to watch it during the day. If
Yeah,
we did make
exactly.
one, because I'd be concerned about sleeping that night, or
Yeah.
something being under my bed or in my shed, or I'm sleeping with a gun that night.
Wow, that took a turn.
Christopher Nolan makes a full-fledged horror film. I think people are going to be jacked in the head after that.
But he hasn't watched enough horror movies. He thinks a gun's gonna help him.
Yeah, dude.
He'd be shooting through spirits. I think he'd be like swallowing the bullets and spitting them back at the wall and
It's just
shit. And
Batman.
be like,
Fuck
ha ha ha.
Call Ghostbusters to come hang out of my house.
That would be sick. Since your motor's running, you can start this next shotgun round. What stands out more, Nolan's filmmaking presence or the final films themselves?
I would have to say for me, the biggest thing that stands out about him is storytelling. And
So when you watch like a Nolan film, that presence of his storytelling is kind of like the looming feeling.
the way he tells the story through the film
Okay.
is like the number one thing that captures me when I watch a Christopher Nolan movie. Like, I know I'm about to be captivated. Like, I better pay attention. Like, I'm not putting it on and listening to it like a podcast and playing it on my phone. I need to be paying attention.
I like that.
Like, his movies, like, that's what I do. Like, I just sit there and pay attention and just stare at the screen because I'm absolutely captivated.
Let me ask you the same question.
Yeah. Yeah, I think obviously Nolan's films are very good and very, interesting, and, can suck you into his own little world he created. But I think the thing that stands out the most is his filmmaking presence and how he actually makes the films. And I haven't watched The Odyssey, but I mean, it's filmed all in IMAX 70 millimeter. And the whole process of making that movie from all aspects is such a human process that that alone, let's say you're going on set to work on The Odyssey, can be just as thrilling as watching it,
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like I really like Christopher Nolan, but he's not my favorite director. He's not my this is the appreciation hour, so I'm not gonna delve into the whys and hows. But
Thanks.
But I'm sticking with my brother's answer, where though his movies might not always be my favorite of all time, I do recognize this guy knows what the hell he's doing, and he makes consistent like this guy is one of the best in the world. And also he's the president of the Directors Guild of America, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. He's part of the DGA.
That's awesome.
Got your ass, dude. You forgot about that one.
Did I?
What doesn't this guy do?
I know.
Does he sleep?
No, I mean, after seeing all his past movies to this, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a no-brainer. The way that he directs his movies are ridiculous. So, like you said, you gotta pay attention. If you're at the bar getting a drink or whatever, see you later. You already missed half the movie. But yeah, the grill, yeah, I mean, we had a good time. It was great over here. Thank you, Cody. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Thank you guys.
No doubt. I would say definitely his presence. I think we all, in some form or fashion here, appreciate the final cut, the final movie when it's in theaters. But I would say, in my opinion, the presence is a little bit more important, primarily because his presence is what has carried the momentum up until the Odyssey. Each movie that he's done, the momentum keeps carrying, his reputation keeps, the stock keeps getting higher. Each blockbuster he does, even the smaller budget ones that he was doing, just the style that, like I said, is very original, very well thought out, and the substance is always there. So I think because so many people have become accustomed to getting those qualities in each of his movies, like I said, that momentum keeps carrying. So his presence, I forget who said it, but hey, if you see his name attached to a movie, you're gonna get something that's quality. You're gonna get your money's worth. With the price of everything and inflation these days, if I'm gonna spend if I'm spending that money for a ticket, it better be worth it. And in the case of Chris Nolan, one of his movies is definitely going to be worth the price of admission, and that's because of the momentum from all the not just the success, but again his reputation and his stock going higher, and that's based on the presence of his quality movies each time.
So I like what you guys all had to say. It was interesting that you guys all kind of were in a similar thing. So admittedly, I actually went the other way. My feeling was that the final films themselves stand out because they're the type of films that captivate audiences enough to free them from their distraction and their boredom. Whenever a Christopher Nolan movie comes out, it's an event, but it's an event because of that movie. Like, mad people are going to see the Odyssey and they only know it's Christopher Nolan if they've been watching Entertainment Tonight in between the news and whatever bullshit is at home. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, people went and saw the Dark Knight movies because it was Batman in a new thing. Like, in all of these movies, you know what I mean? Like, people go to see Inception because of its insane cast. It's like they go to see Interstellar because it's seeing Hollywood elites in space. Like, all of these things are like they're like these event moments where it's like, I need to be in a theater and see this, because if I wait until this comes on home video, like, I'm the asshole. And I can't think of too many filmmakers nowadays who have that kind of impact, and you could take their name off it and still have the same impact. Like, if you showed somebody The Prestige and they didn't know it was Christopher Nolan, it doesn't change that it's going to, like, blow them away,
Yeah.
But if you go back in time, like, I know you hate, like, the auteur thing, but just like people that kind of are on that scope, a lot of those filmmakers, if you took their name off the film, the impact wouldn't have always been the same.
Yeah.
But I think Christopher Nolan just genuinely cares that much about the art that it's like, he's made enough money, he's fine. Like, it don't matter if his movies bomb ever. Like, he's good for life. He just wants to make the like highest qualitative form of the thing that he can make. And
I
I
don't
just
think
think
he's
that,
had a movie bomb.
no,
Which
never.
is nuts.
He's
Like, oh, for
the only
nothing, dude.
person who just continues to like multiply his, but like, they'll be like, let's make this for 6,000. Oh, we just brought in $17 million. We'll spend 45 million on the next. It made 120 million.
Yeah.
Nolan is the true definition of quality over quantity.
Yeah.
He puts out quality work instead of putting out a quantity of work. And that's why I don't think he's had many per se bomb.
Right.
Because He just doesn't take any movie and put his name on it and be like, I'm going to put out 6 movies this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
says, I'm going to take the next 2.5 years to make this one.
No
movie.
Netflix movies for
Nope.
Christopher Nolan.
I don't think so, but
All right, I got 3 more shotgun questions because we're running out of time. This next one, I'll start with you, Danny. You guys have some time to think about it, but we'll just go in a circle here. What's one Nolan film that you would recommend to anyone for their first time if they had never seen any Christopher Nolan film?
Prestige.
I dig that. That's cool.
I just love magic too. So
Yeah, I'm with that. Josh, what about you?
Inception.
Ooh, wow. First Christopher Nolan movie.
Straight to the deep
All right. It's like if you can handle that, you can handle any of them.
And I think this movie, Memento, that movie, you gotta watch that one first.
Yeah, that's another one too.
Yeah.
If you watch Memento and you come back for more, you're good.
I'm going with Batman Begins.
Ooh, I like that.
As much as I like to say Memento, I think if you want to watch a Christopher Nolan movie for the first time and really capture what he's like kind of about, like what he likes to do in his films and how he achieves those goals, I would say Dark Knight.
Okay,
So yeah.
I dig that.
where are you at?
So I actually had Batman Begins. To me, it feels like the perfect entryway into seeing how Christopher Nolan can take something that has strong familiarity to you already and completely upend it and present it in a way unlike ever before. I think that if like sci-fi, if you watch mad sci-fi movies and you love movies that take place in space and you love 2001 and whatever, then like something like Interstellar is like, whoa, like that's crazy. You know what I mean? But like most people have a familiarity with Batman. Even if you don't like comic books or you don't play video games or you don't like animated shows or whatever, like your grandmother and her friends at the Cracker Barrel all know what Batman is. And so everybody has some sort of comforting idea of what they think Batman is. And so you give them that, and then that movie just completely like upends it. If you enjoy that, everything that's left to come is going to be such a ride.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I agree wholeheartedly.
next question is going to be for my homies that have seen the Odyssey here. So no spoilers. For anyone that has seen, for
Won't
any,
spoil a 2,000-year-old story for anybody. Don't
you
worry.
know what I mean.
Hey, there's a twist ending for the ending of the Bible too. The guy dies and then they bring him back right after. It's nuts, dude. Sorry.
You don't let me ask my fucking
All
question.
right. Ask a question.
For anyone that has seen the Odyssey already, as briefly as possible, tell us how you feel it compares or fits within the Nolan filmography.
I was way more excited for the Odyssey than I was for Oppenheimer, and I think in a lot of ways Odyssey delivered. And I think it's like a triumphant return, and it's really beautifully made. And there's just moments where you're just taken aback by how gorgeous everything looks. And the performances, I think everybody did a really great job. Like I really enjoyed everything that I saw, with like a few handful of things, but that goes into spoiler territory, so I'm gonna hold
Sits
back.
pretty high in the pantheon, though.
I'd say so. I need to watch it a second time to fully submit because it's a lot of movie.
Yeah.
But like, dude, there's some sequences in that movie that I'm just like, holy fuck! Like, it's so hard to look away.
This is not a paid sponsorship, but it should be. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, go get your tickets and go watch that movie. It's absolutely amazing. I don't like sitting in a theater for 3 hours, and I absolutely loved every minute in the theater. So go get your tickets, go watch it. It was absolutely amazing.
I'll take you at some point, Liam.
Yeah, I'm trying to see it too. Yeah, me too. I'm trying to find tickets.
You were invited.
I know. I was invited.
There were seats behind us.
Not on the map.
bet I have to hit that rewind button. We're getting to somebody's bedtime.
Well, wouldn't that be fast forward then?
Fuck, you're right. No, I like rewind back to the conversation.
No, but it was absolutely
Yeah, his tape's
incredible.
jammed.
I enjoyed it. I'll go see it again. Like that's how.
Hell yeah.
That's how good I thought
It's
it
definitely
was.
worth the rewatch. Like,
All right. So you guys both feel it sits pretty high in the filmography, though?
I'd say so. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I got lucky to see it in IMAX, and I would love to now go see it in 70 mil.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
Providence Place.
Liam, I'm going to start this last shotgun question with you.
All right.
Any Nolan films that you haven't seen yet that you have an urgency to see?
Well, obviously, The Odyssey. Been seeing a lot about that. A lot of people here have been mentioning The Prestige, so I'd want to give that a go. I haven't seen Interstellar, but I'm not like I don't have really a desire to see it. You know, I'm not trying to crap on the movie. I have nothing. I have no idea really what it's about. But
It's okay. I only put my heart and soul into making it.
yeah. And I don't know. I don't really know a lot, but probably Insomnia as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool one.
I want to watch this first one, Follower. Insomnia sounds cool, and I'm trying to think. Was there anything between or like before Memento? Okay, so then, yeah, I maybe Odyssey again. I got to go see that.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll definitely see Odyssey. Sounds like a hit, so I will see that. Boom. Yeah.
Definitely the Odyssey for me. Insomnia at some point as well, but as far as which one I want to see right now, urgent, out of all of them that I haven't seen, definitely the Odyssey.
Definitely the following.
Yeah.
For seeing basically everything else in his catalog and not seeing his very first movie, I feel like I owe him
Yeah.
to go see it now.
I feel like if you were here for The Dark Knight, you need to watch Heat. And now if you were here for this one, you need to go watch Following. I like that. So the Odyssey, I obviously goes without saying. We've only been hyping it up for months now. So I definitely am going to see that. Just got like a waft of perfume or something. Right? Okay. I'm like, huh? Oh,
That was your sweet ass. Handsome.
I hadn't seen them yet because they didn't call my name as much as like other films in his collection, but I do feel like I want to see Dunkirk. I'm not like a big war film guy, but obviously I'm a big movie guy, and the like technical prowess that went into making that movie and like some of the techniques that they used and stuff like that, I feel like I would be in a place now to appreciate that. And it's a surprisingly short run time. I was actually going to try and watch it today. And of course, yes. No. That's 19. Yeah. No. It is like a war movie, but not that one. No. And I feel like I should see Oppenheimer just because it was one of those like theatrical events. I'm like, I just want to see it. I didn't lose sleep over not seeing it. I did kind of wish I when all that Barbenheimer stuff was happening, I kept convincing myself. I was like, I'm watching them back to back. I didn't watch either of them. But I would definitely go see those. All right. So, Liam, you're new to actually, a couple of you guys are new to the show. Are you guys familiar with Letterboxd?
No.
So Letterboxd is basically a movie platform where people will go on and like rate and review the movies they watch. A lot of filmmakers will make lists of like influential movies and stuff like that. So we've kind of adopted that idea, and we like to give each movie that we watch a rating out of 5 stars, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst, or 0. Wow. Very rarely have we had a 0.
Have we had a 0? Honestly.
Hopefully never. Probably just felt like a 0 at times. Yeah.
All right. Don't worry. I have my zeros in my pocket for certain ones.
Oh, jeez. Well, let's start with you. Let's get your Memento final thoughts and Letterboxd rating.
My letterbox rating for this is a 4 out of 5. I absolutely love the way it was filmed, the way that it challenges you and constantly just draws you in to the storyline to make sure that you're paying attention. And for me, just like the editing and the way it was cut together, it was just beautiful. So this is a 4 out of 5.
I love that.
I would probably put it 5 out of 5, and I like how you can watch this movie and and it can sometimes shock you because it's not like a typical. I don't know if I'm talking right, but not a typical Nolan film.
Yeah.
You know
No,
what I mean?
I totally agree with you on that.
So yeah, I would put it 5 out of 5.
Thanks. I needed that.
I'm going 3.5 out of 5. Really enjoyed it. This has been on my list for a while. I think it's a movie that doesn't hold your hand, but it does give you the tools to figure out the mystery as you're going along. And I mean, there's this line in the movie where he's like, you can never trust a memory, you can only trust facts. And then, the twist at the end being that, this story about Sammy is actually about what he was doing to his wife, potentially, if you want to believe that. But, this idea that like he's using his memory as his, his fact, but he's not Superman, and he's fucking brain damaged. So, but anyway, great movie. 3.5 out of 5.
Love that.
They even said in the movie, your memories aren't perfect. They're not guaranteed. Might change the color of the car.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I thought it was a good movie. Believe me. The fact that it still got me questioning the ending. That's what I like about watching movies, especially thrillers like that. So I'll give it a 5, man.
Thanks. I needed that.
Recommend it. Definitely recommend it. It's a good movie.
I would give this one a 4 out of 5, purely off the strength of the style of storytelling. The first time I watched it, I was just blown away by the fact that it wasn't a linear story where, beginning, middle, end, like, a lot of stories are. I was just really impressed, not just the fact that it was essentially told backwards, but the fact that it was told backwards and it didn't get so overly complex and trying to explain this, and this, all the details. It was a movie that you had to pay attention to, but it wasn't over your head. And I think that's an important trait considering the fact that it's told in reverse. So because of those two things, I would definitely say 4 out of 5. And a great introduction, for I know I said Inception. This one isn't bad either, as far as someone's introduction to Nolan and his style of filmmaking. Not saying that they all are going to be, told in reverse, but the risk taking, I feel, says a lot about him as a director. And if you're going into a movie by a director who's willing to tell a movie in reverse, that should tell you a lot about not just the risk that he's willing to take, but kind of the edginess that he approaches some of his movies with, and then multiply that when it's a blockbuster.
Unfortunately, there's no take back, so you got to strike that from the record. All right, man. What a run that was, though. There's honestly like so much that could be said, but I also feel like covered like 30 years of a director's filmography in a brief amount of time. That was pretty impressive.
Not the first time we've done it.
Not the last either.
Nope.
And so this kind of segues into my movie of the week this week. Right on cue. I like that. So if you guys are asking why I'm not giving my Letterboxd review for this one, what I do is next week when the movie comes out on YouTube. I put out my review on Letterboxd that day, and then the link to our episode is at the end of it. So people that follow me on the box can see what I thought, and then go catch the episode and see what everybody thought at the same time. My movie of the week this week harkens back to an older episode, though. How many of you guys are familiar with Akira Kurosawa? Oh, yeah, I know you guys were. You guys were here for that episode.
Clearly, somebody should raise their hand.
Yeah. So we did an appreciation hour a while back for the director Akira Kurosawa, who's like one of the most prolific directors of all time, and like made movies that influenced Star Wars and all sorts of stuff. One of his notable like drama thrillers was a movie called High to Low, and a couple of years back Spike Lee got the rights to it, and they did Highest to Lowest. And so because we watched High and Low on the program, I felt like it was only right when I found Highest to Lowest that I give it a proper review so that we can compare it to our original screening. So with that said, Highest to Lowest from 2025. I grabbed this on Blu-ray a while back, and I felt like I should report back here since we watched High and Low early in our program. This is a weird thing to say, but I feel like if they were fractional stars, I would have given it like a 3.75 or a 3.25. But because there wasn't, I just had to give it a 3.5. I really did enjoy this, and there were certain things about it that I thought were really cool for like a modern adaptation. But there was some stuff that really just had me like face palming the whole time. Like it was just some real goofy shit. It was cool to see that Kurosawa's grandson was involved as a producer in it. From a cinematography standpoint, there were these beautiful moments where, like one, for example, they would go through this train station and it would switch from like film to digital, and you would see like the texture change on the screen. And it was just this like really beautiful color grading that they did. So it was like they put a lot of work into making a good movie. It just was like really goofy for a number of reasons. The movie does like a really interesting job interpolating its source material, but it honestly, we just watched a 2-hour movie. We've watched almost 3-hour movies here before. Highest to Lowest was a movie that felt too long. It genuinely felt like you could have cut like 45 minutes out of it and it still would have been a good movie. There was a point where I thought it was done and the movie felt completed, and there was still like another like 30 plus minutes of just like exposition and like useless shit. It just, the payoff doesn't satisfy at the end. So I'm really glad that I got to see it. Because I own it, I will definitely watch it again. But it was far from providing the level of excitement that I had going into it. And so, like I had said before, that's a 3.5 out of 5 stars for me. And if you want to follow more of my movie watch lists, reviews, and more from other interesting people and other filmmakers and film fans, consider following me on Letterboxd. My username there is Cody Pope. And here's a quick little bit about Letterboxd, and we'll be right back. We're back. We got a couple film club field trips, some screenings and event listings to tell you guys about before we get out of here. So, starting off for our Patreon viewers and anybody who gets the episodes early, Monday, July 27th, Wicked VHS presents Horror Musical Night at the Model in Allston, Mass. Wicked VHS will be playing Little Shop of Horrors, followed by the Rocky Horror Picture Show on Monday, July 27th at the Model in Allston, Mass. It's a free 21 plus event. Thursday, July 30th is the Creative Guts Short Film Festival at Red River Theaters in Concord, New Hampshire. Presented by the Creative Guts podcast, their short film festival is an evening of imaginative stories from filmmakers in New Hampshire and beyond. Visit redrivertheaters.org. Friday, July 31st, The Samurai and the Prisoner theatrical release. One of the best reviewed films from the 2026 Cannes Film Festival, Kiyoshi Kurosawa's thrilling The Samurai and the Prisoner will hit theaters exclusively on July 31st. Friday, July 31st to Monday, August 3rd, Mikey and Nikki 4K restoration screenings at the Brattle in Cambridge, Mass. Get tickets now to see one of the most harrowing and electrifying portraits of male friendship turned tragic, a true masterpiece of American cinema from the brilliant filmmaker Elaine May, with inimitable lead actors John Cassavetes and Peter Falk. Screening for the weekend at the Brattle Theater in Cambridge. Its new 4K restoration is one that you do not want to miss your chance to see on the big screen. I kid you guys not. I don't know if anybody has seen Mikey and Nikki. I would put it on like my top 100 movies of all time. It's like one of the most like intense movies, and it just makes you think about like all your relationships with people and just like how you handle your friendships and shit. Like just unreal. Wednesday, August 5th and Thursday, August 6th. After Dark, My Sweet, 35 millimeter screenings at the Roxy Cinema in New York City. I almost said New York Cinema. It's been a week. Justin Laliberty of Cinematograph Films will be hosting 2 rare archival 35 millimeter screenings of After Dark, My Sweet, at which both will have a post-screening Q&A with actor Jason Patric. In After Dark, My Sweet, after escaping from a mental hospital, drifting ex-boxer Kid Colley, played by Jason Patric, meets an alcoholic widow, Faye, played by Rachel Ward, who entices him into performing maintenance work at her estate. When crooked Uncle Bud, played by Bruce Dern, joins the two, Faye's darker side begins to appear. Bud and Faye concoct a scheme to kidnap the son of a local wealthy family and have Colley carry out the dirty work, to which the troubled ex-boxer agrees, but soon has second thoughts. Wednesday, August 19th to Sunday, August 23rd, is the 11th Annual Hip Hop Film Festival at Look Cinemas in New York City. The 11th Annual Hip Hop Film Festival returns August 19th to 23rd with 5 days of Fresh on the Hudson. Powered by Look Cinemas and presented by Harlem Film House, Hip Hop Film Festival 2026 creates New York City's first ever destination film festival experience for the culture, bringing independent cinema, master ciphers, community screenings, live performances, DJ culture, the Cypher Lounge, the Sneaker Ball, the GO Awards, and more to New York City and the Hudson Valley. Friday, August 28th, Terminator 2 Judgment Day 35th anniversary screenings nationwide. For a special limited run engagement, AMC Theaters will celebrate the 35th anniversary of one of the most iconic action films of all time, the Arnold Schwarzenegger starring, James Cameron directed Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Tickets are available now through AMC at theaters nationwide. Friday, August 28th, Kevin Smith Fest 2026 at the Mahoning Drive-In Theater in Layton, Pennsylvania. The Mahoning Drive-In Theater in Layton, Pennsylvania invites you to skew your view with a 35 millimeter double feature from the man who brought Snoochie Boochies into the lexicon. Kevin Smith Fest 2026. Watch Clerks 2, followed by Zach and Miri Make a Porno. Get tickets now at themahoningdrivein.com.
It's only 6 hours from here.
Trust me, I've already brought it up at home. I already said something to the old lady today. I was like, yo, so what do you think about taking a little road trip with me? She was like, we'll talk about it. I was like, okay.
So that means no.
No, that means I just got to press the issue a little bit. If you're watching this episode, I love you. I'll make it worth your while. With that said, before I screw my chances of going to that, Saturday, August 29th to Sunday, August 30th is the Kaiju Film Festival in Salem 2026. The North Shore's first ever Kaiju Film Festival, presented by Cinema Salem, Salem Scare Society, and Nightlight. Passes are online now at cinemasalem.com, along with the full program of films. Wednesday, October 14th, Final Destination 3 at the Coolidge at the Speedway. Series presented by Coolidge Corner Theater and the Charles River Speedway. This final feature in this incredible outdoor screening event in Boston features food vendors, beer tents, and more. Watch Final Destination 3 the 2006 third installment of the American supernatural horror franchise, just in time for Halloween. And lastly, the New Hampshire Film Festival, October 15th through the 18th, throughout downtown Portsmouth, New Hampshire. The New Hampshire Film Festival is an annual fall event located in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, that unites professional filmmakers, screenwriters, and film industry experts with film lovers. Drawing thousands of attendees annually, NHFF is the region's premier film festival and is an integral resource for local and national industry professionals who return each year. Movie Maker magazine named the New Hampshire Film Festival on its annual list of 50 film festivals worth the entry fee, celebrating festivals that serve movie makers and audiences in some of the best destinations in the world. For details, visit www.nhfilmfestival.com. Wow.
You know, every time you bring up the Final Destination thing, it's the only movie I've ever watched that has altered my real life.
That's scary.
I can't drive behind logging trucks.
Oh my gosh, I know, dude. True story. Talk that talk. What were you going to say?
No, I didn't have anything. I just made a mouth noise.
I appreciated it.
Got you, dude.
I like that. Bringing value to the show. Good podcast content right there, baby.
Clip that.
Clip it. Clip it, research it, highlight it, spot it, add it. What do you say? You want to, you think we should adjourn? Call it a night?
Well, it's been a beautiful time.
Indeed.
Enjoy it. Great conversation, great people. So, what I have to say, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Please be sure to subscribe to our to our main YouTube channel, The Hellhound Publishing, and subscribe to our newest channel, The Hellhound Film Club, dedicated to this show right here, as well as bonus clips, exclusive bonus episodes, interviews, and more. Those subs and comments are really taking us places.
Please consider being a part of our Patreon community. For as little as $1 a month, you can get exclusive and early access to Hellhound Film Club, as well as all of the other podcasts, music releases, and book releases from Hellhound Publishing. You're going to get access to everything that we've released there going back to 2018. Your support is going to help us get additional cameras, microphones, computers, and more ways to promote the show and reach new audiences. Please consider joining today for as little as $1 a month at www.patreon.com/Hellhound Publishing, or check the banner scrolling right below our screen.
And don't forget, you can join us here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. at The Spot in downtown Nashua, New Hampshire, for our free movie screening and live recording of these episodes. That's Wednesday night at 217 Main Street, Nashua, New Hampshire. Come on down, watch a flick, grab a drink, eat well with good friends, and
don't forget the popcorn. Good night, world. I guess I'll wrap it up.